Hello everyone. So this is the chapter on writing to start your research proposal. The first chapter, chapter 1, introduction. Okay. In proposal we have 3 chapters, which are introduction. Second will be literature review, and the third one will be methodology. So I'm going to outline one by one what should be in your introduction. Yeah, you may start writing after this lecture. Okay. This chapter is to help you to understand to how to develop research proposal and how to write introduction, problem statement, what should be in your problem statement, write the objective, the hypothesis, significance of study, delimitation, and definition of term. Okay, right. Yeah, have you draft your first, I think the title of your research project? It should be concise, descriptive and catchy. Okay, what do you mean by that? You need to really address from reading the title of your research proposal, people have the idea or clue what's your research nature will be all about. Okay, some of them are using functional relationship as in the title. Okay, what is it? Later we go more detail. And you have to indicate independent and dependent variables. IV, independent variable, and dependent variables. Independent is the subject of the thing that you control. For example, athletes. Athletes is your independent variable. Dependent, boleh ubah pemalar, it is something that you going to measure. For example, cardiovascular fitness. For example, again, motivation is things that you going to measure. Independent is things that you control, you decide. Okay, right? So be as catchy as you can on the title, because you are going to conduct the research project next semester. Okay, these are the samples, the research proposal, and eventually becoming a research project for your previous batches. Okay, right. So as you know, this proposal, I would like to emphasize more on the survey research, okay, because of the situation now. So what should be first in your background of study? 1.1 in the introduction. Chapter 1 is introduction, and the first subtopic, subchapter, it should be background of study. You should introduce all the variables of your study. Variables meaning what's going to be the elements that you're going to control, you're going to decide, and then what you're going to measure in your study. Okay, indicate, identify the IV. Introduce to us what's the IV and DV. For example, again, motivation. Okay, what's the motivation? What is sports motivation? Okay, motivation, you have 2 types. Generally, intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. So we should define. Okay, introduce to us what are its definition based on our sports setting, and how it is very significant in our sports research. Okay, and then from after you're introducing all the variables important, the athletes, if it is athletes, of course, and then you have to start research problem. What's the issue behind that variables that going to study later on? Okay, the problem statement should follow the background of study. Okay, again, problem statement should be followed after you introducing the background of study, meaning that after you introduce to us the IV and DV, okay, you going narrower and narrower to the problem statement. Okay, background study should provide the context and set the stage for your research objective. Now we're talking about research objective. So yeah, because in one research proposal, it should be consists of several objectives. What you want to measure? Are you going to look at the relationship? Are you going to compare some groups in terms of DV that you're going to measure later on? And then you should present the rationale of your proposed study. Why is the need to conduct such research? It is maybe because it's still a hot topic nowadays. We're talking about sports setting, exercise setting. Is it still a hot topic? And then briefly, slide describe the major issues and problem to be addressed. Because why I'm saying is that briefly on the problem statement, because we have our own problem statement subchapter 1.2. Okay, after you introduce a background, okay, you outline all the variables introduced to us, we are being introduced. Now you are narrowing down to the 1.2 problem statement. You are going to explore, you're going to cite the studies that conduct similar studies. If there's gap in the study, you have to mention it. Okay, because problem statement is a where the paragraph should be addressing all the major issues, major problems, hot topic nowadays, and then you should provide evidence. Evidence meaning that based on the journals, articles that you read. Okay, it should be an issue. If it is no problem, there's no research. Okay, because research is solving problem. Okay, we address the issue, then we want to provide a solution at the end of our research project later on. You may indicate contradicted findings. Contradicted findings meaning that various results being presented by previous studies. For example, it says that motivation, intrinsic motivation is more likely to be among the individual sports. When you're playing alone in sport, intrinsic is the best. Intrinsic is the drive to perform in sports. In contrast, that's the word. In contrast to the team sports, they are more likely to be in extrinsic. Extrinsic, they want reward. They want to have puji-pujian. That's where they perform better. But however, now we're talking about contradict finding. However, okay, when it is the athletes are more lower level, for example, amateur, intrinsic is more prone, regardless they are individual or team sports. Can you see the contradicted findings? Okay, the lower level the athletes could be have similar in intrinsic and extrinsic compared to the higher level elites. They're likely to be prone to the extrinsic motivation, or the rewards, the money, puji-pujian, doctorship, things like that. Okay, that's the issue that we want to hear. So, but that statement that you found out should be based on several readings and should be in latest year, bukan tahun 1980-an. No, I would like to suggest my 5 years, in the range 5 years, 2015 2020 articles, because in sports setting research is many studies have been conducted. Now the researchers are still conducting it, so there banyaklah article yang keluar being published that you still can read. I don't suggest it is very old. It's too old. It's not relevant anymore. We're talking about relevancy of that article or ataupun relevancy of the results found out by the previous researchers. Okay, no problem, no research. So address, find out your problem, read, outline, point out the major issues. Okay. Right, so the statement problem may begin with, this is an example. A major purpose of understanding motivation factors in highlighting the importance of physical exercise is to motivate the elderly to continue exercise throughout the lifetime. Okay, because exercise is to taking of the health. If they are not motivated, we have to understand what's motivate them. And we talk about elderly, so because we want to start at an early age to encourage people to get to the physical exercise. So then you gradually narrow it down to what's the issue, hot topic nowadays. Hot topic in terms of our articles or journal academics that we read. Okay, right. This is a sample of problem statement. This is somewhat not survey research, but however it is experimental. The way I and the previous batches they wrote, they outline the statistics of Sabah game. Says that the junior weightlifters perform excellent. However, the seniors does not get any medal. So this drive them, that's the issue, drive them to conduct profile so that they know where is lacking among the weightlifters. I always suggest you to write this statement. Thus, there is a need to conduct a study. We want to confirm, we want to attract the reader, says that this is a need to conduct a study because we want to explore more on this, something like that. So this is a sample again. So mental health and happiness. So what's the issue nowadays? You are all known, right? Major health issue. People are more focusing too much on physical health issue, but now mental health issue is being rising up because I don't know what's the issue. You have to read and what is the statistic behind it. Okay, right. Athletes also have some issues in mental, even though they are physically healthy. Presume have physically healthy compared to the non-athletes. So if you read at it, you have to cite. Citation is very important. Okay, after you have write a good elaboration on the problem segment, now we shift to another subchapter 1.3 research question and 1.4 research objective. Okay, right, in research we have to mention in the form of question what you want to know in specific. You ask. Okay, research question is must be researchable, and I would like you to read on Miles 2017 on how what's the best of way to write research question. Same goes to research objective. Following after research question, it should be stated in the form of statement. Okay, research question asking, research objectives is the form of statement referring to your research question. It should be parallel. Okay, if a research question in form of question, research objective is referring to that in form in a statement. Okay, it should be in line with what you want to seek or to know and what you hope to achieve. Okay, at the end of the study. So state clearly the IV and DV, and it should be achievable and measurable. Okay, I repeat once again, it should clearly state the IV and DV of your study, and it should be achievable and measurable. Right? So it's sample of it. Research question. This is achievable, measurable, and informal question. The IV here is, if we look at this, IV anxiety. Anxiety is DV. IV is performance. Okay, right? So what you want to measure is anxiety, and the IV will be performance. The higher the performance of the athletes, the higher the anxiety, or vice versa. Same goes to the second research question. Sample again. Comparing between internal motivation and gender. We want to compare male is high in internal motivation or female. Okay, comparing between gender. The third one will be comparing the references of self-taught belief between type of sports. Is it individual sports have a belief, greater belief, or team sports athletes greater belief in self-taught? Okay, it's very direct. IV and DV is clearly stated here. So now, when you turn it to the research objective, write on aligning in line with research question just now. So one will be asking, is there a relationship between? Now it is a statement of to measure the relationship between anxiety and sports performance. Same goes to the other two objectives. Okay, hopefully you may start to draft out what's your IV and your DV, right? So after the research question of objective, now we shift to hypothesis 1.5. Okay, another subchapter, hypothesis. Hypothesis is should be in the state of concisely when you expect relationship, when you expect differences of the variables of the study, and it should be testable. These three people's research question, research objective, and research hypothesis is interrelated. When you mention it in the research question, it should be in the research objective, and it should be in the hypothesis. However, it's more detailed. It's split down into more explicit because we want to test it later on to reject or to accept the hypothesis. So now we're involving inferential statistics. What are these? Involving the several new type of tests in the SPSS, we call it the software. Okay, so there are two types of hypotheses going to outline in your writing: the null and the alternate. Okay, if it is the null, it always have a statement of saying no differences, no relationship. Statement of hypothesis 2, it will mention on tidak ada beza, tidak ada relationship, because scientifically says that it is difficult to prove something to be true, but it is easier to prove that something not true. Okay, I'll give you an example after this. The same goes to the alternate. It's that there is a relationship that you expect. Is there differences that you expect? It can be stated in directional or non-directional. So hypothesis is there are two types: directional or non-directional. Example of the null and alternate. Okay, if we look at the first partner here, first pair here, there is a relationship between anxiety. Another one, it mentioned the no. Okay, if it is state the word no, it is a null statement. Hypothesis testing. Okay, we have to put a statement of relationship And the second one, difference of intrinsic motivation. Okay, again, there is a and now there is no. Same goes to the self-taught belief. Okay, the first hypothesis here, it intended to assess or examine the relationship, tengok hubungan. Second one, nak tengok beza, comparison. Same goes to the third one. This is more likely frequent happening in a survey research and is in your level only to see comparison or relationship in the hypothesis. Okay, hopefully you get what's the statement here. Hypothesis testing, you have to state these two, null and alternate. Okay, after the hypothesis, now significance of study, SOS I would like to call it. Why, kenapa why you want to conduct such study? Okay, when we outline the significance of study, SOS, another sub point or subchapter, it is to elaborate why the study is needed and to establish the underlying rationale. Kenapa, and you have to justify kenapa nak kaji, because ada problem kan. Of course, is want to solve the problem. So you put that what's the contribution of your study kan, proposal kan. You have to put what's the contribution of your study in the implication. Implication is to increase knowledge, to put extra added knowledge, to contribute to the theory, and then to what extent the results later on will be useful in solving the problem. Because you mentioned in problem statement again, because issues, hot topic, so your study should be having the implication. You want to solve that major problem, hot topic in our setting. And then the terms of contribution is application. You are convincing the readers or the panels, juries, what's the potential application of the findings later on to the educational practice, to the academic practice. Ask the following question in writing the application. Will my results change anything in my field? Would my result help coaches, sports practitioners to improve their work? By your result later on, is it able to give application? So that's where we write SOS. Okay, this is a sample. Okay, the sample will be the next slide, and it should, don't forget to relate to the problem statement that you have mentioned in the problem statements subchapters just now, right? Okay, this is sample of it. I'm talking about body mesh. Right, if you're able to find out the results later on, could be a platform. Okay, a platform to provide intervention kalau ada masalah in the terms of that unknown ataupun that's problem that you going to research later on. It's a platform for intervention ataupun long run benefits to the school teachers. This is for this topic. Okay, right. How about if this topic is on the prevalence of obesity, what's the study would bring? Study will help to contribute. What factors? People are saying it's about food. No, I guess it's something else, can. Then we want to contribute to help to adopt healthy lifestyle, to help to minimize the nation's obesity, to help to suggest some programs to counter this problem. That's the top topic on this. Okay, right? So significant study is about why and what's your implication, how you can solve the problem in the problem statement mentioned. Okay, so another one subchapter will be limitation. Limitation, yes, as those who propose a topic, your title, you have to address what the potential weakness, because at least you're aware. Even though weakness, you have to aware. Weakness here is beyond your control. Outline weakness that potentially that beyond your control. And kalau weakness is in your control, contoh, I cannot go there lah because of financial. No, it's not a limitation. Limitation should be beyond your control. What I like to suggest beyond our control. Last time we are proposing on face-to-face survey, you go into that premise and then you add a question about this pandemic cause us limitation beyond our control. What we do is shift to the online. This is some example besides that face-to-face and online. Faulty administration of test or training program. Machine rosak, tidak ada kah? You have distribute too many but the return rate 90%. 10% not answering. This goes to things that we are practicing now. The Google form through email, we distribute to 1,000, but back to us only 400. How about 600? That's not. This is beyond control. And the level of understanding could be when you are distributing it to orang kampung, village peoples. Those who are not familiar with the term that you use, very scientific. Maybe it's too much academic terms. So, but however, this should be indicated so that we can be more realistic and more prepared to prevent them from occurring. However, it is potential weakness beyond your control. Okay, so another subchapter, delimitation. If you have the potential weakness, then we have things that you control as researcher. You have to outline the characteristics specified that define the scope of the research, meaning that you have the fencing it. You should spell out the population study and things that you can control. For example, number and kinds of participants, variables, tests and measures, instrument use, time and duration. Okay, participants, university athletes. University athlete ataupun university students. They will not going to be school students. You limit it, you control it. Okay, you delimit it to only university students going to be respondent, not the staff, not the school, ataupun not orang-orang biasa di tepi jalan. No, you are fencing it. What are the instrument used? Maybe you using questionnaire nama sekian. Using self-esteem by Rosenberg. You using IPAC, physical activity. Using eating disorder, EAT. There are various names of instrument that you can use to measure the DV. And then when you are going to decide, is also a delimitation. Because, okay, for example here, you are conducting activity rock campus 1 and 2. If muka, no. Contoh you delimit it. You have to have justification why you eliminating atau excluding UTM muka even though it's still UTM Sarawak. Okay, the study will be October 20 to 2020. Other than that range of study, not going to be in my study. So you have to outline there, right there. This study will assess factors influence physical activity in relation to academic achievement. Contoh, make it more really very related to your proposal. Okay, right? So last in the chapter 1, definition of term. Okay, in many terms that you're going to use back and forth, you have to define in operational terms that very asyik jumpa lah di chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lah tuan jumpa terms tu je. Terms is a problem segment in your LR, in your method, in your question objective. Then you define it. I'm talking about motivation just now, so you have to define it in your own term, not definition yang ada citation. I want you to put it operational. In this term, for example, the term here, if it is topic on academic achievement, it refers to mean score obtained. So GPA is academic achievement in your term in the research proposal. Even though academic achievement can be something else. It can be dapat dekan ke tak, it can be 3 pointer and above. But in our term, academic achievement here is GPA. Bukan cumulative, it's the current semester. So another one, the terms, if it is in your study, physical activity. If it is activity movement, that WHO is outlining it. But in the study, it includes exercise as well as other activities that involve playing, working, transportation, house chores, and recreational. Define it in your term of study. Okay, it could be something else, but basically, it's always addressing in general what you mean in your study. Right? Yes, ladies and gentlemen. So I hope you can outline all the chapter 1 subtopic from the background study up to the definition of the right. No problem, no studies. Address major issues, outline hot topic. Okay, right? So that's all. Thank you.